Many people carry a quiet promise in their hearts. When someone finally chooses me, I will feel complete. I will feel secure. I will know that I matter. Marriage becomes more than a relationship. It becomes evidence. Evidence that you are lovable. Evidence that you belong. Evidence that your life has begun. Now listen carefully. The desire for marriage is not the enemy. Loneliness is real. Delay can hurt. Watching others move into relationships while your own future feels uncertain can produce anxiety, questions, even exhaustion. Social pressure can make every celebration feel like an examination of your life. None of that automatically means you are bitter, faithless, or defective. It means you are human, and companionship is a legitimate desire. But a legitimate desire becomes dangerous when you assign it an illegitimate responsibility. Here is the principle. Marriage can give you a companion, but it cannot give you an identity. Say that again. Marriage can give you a companion, but it cannot give you an identity. Why? Because marriage may accompany a life, but it cannot manufacture the person who must live that life. Another human being can love you, encourage you, challenge you, and walk beside you. But that person cannot become the source of your worth, the author of your direction, and the permanent manager of your inner security. That is not partnership. That is rescue thinking. You may say, I only want someone to love. Good, but inspect the sentence beneath that sentence. Are you also saying, I need someone to make me feel real? I need someone to silence my insecurity. I need someone to turn my uncertainty into purpose. Those are different requests. One seeks companionship. The other hands an unfinished identity to another person and says, please complete this for me. Take a moment and answer honestly. What do you secretly expect marriage to make you feel? Significant, safe, visible, successful, finally acceptable. And what do you expect it to make you become? Write down the answer, because hidden expectations eventually become spoken demands. This teaching is not against marriage. It is against converting marriage into an emotional rescue system. We are going to define the difference between companionship and identity. We are going to expose the pressure placed on a spouse who must continually prove that you matter. Then we are going to replace passive waiting with a practical framework for self-government, purpose, support, contribution, and growth. You do not have to apologize for wanting partnership, but you must release partnership from a promise it was never designed to keep. So here is the question that takes us deeper. If a spouse cannot create your identity, what exactly is identity, and where must it be established? Identity must be established in the part of your life that another person cannot govern for you. Write this down. Companionship is shared presence. Identity is governed self-knowledge. Companionship says, I am with you. Identity answers, who is the person you are with? These are related, but they are not interchangeable. Companionship can bring affection, mutual support, honest conversation, shared experiences, and participation in the responsibilities and joys of life. It is a gift to be known, encouraged, comforted, and accompanied. Do not minimize that gift, but companionship does not answer every internal question. Another person may help you think, but cannot decide your values for you. Another person may support your work, but cannot accept your responsibilities for you. Another person may share your direction, but cannot provide direction to a life you refuse to govern. So, what is identity? Identity is not merely the feeling of being wanted. Identity is the governed knowledge of who you are and what your life is responsible for. It answers 4 questions. Who am I? What values govern me? What am I responsible for? What direction organizes my life? Notice the language: govern, responsible, direction. Identity is not a mood. If your identity rises whenever someone praises you and collapses whenever someone disappoints you, what you possess is not yet stable self-knowledge. It is borrowed permission. Now, affirmation is healthy. Everyone benefits from sincere encouragement. There is nothing weak about enjoying the words, I believe in you, or I appreciate you. The issue is not receiving affirmation. The issue is requiring affirmation before you permit yourself to exist confidently, act responsibly, or remain anchored in your values. Appreciation can strengthen you, but it must not become the oxygen supply of your personhood. Think of a name tag. It can identify the person standing before you, but it cannot create that person. In the same way, a spouse may recognize your character, celebrate your gifts, and speak your name with love. Beautiful. But that spouse cannot write you into existence. Recognition confirms presence. It does not manufacture substance. Your relationship status describes a circumstance. Single, dating, engaged, married, each tells us something about your present arrangement. None tells us the total substance of who you are. Status may change in a day. Your responsibility to govern your character, uphold your values, develop your capacities, and direct your life remains. This is what completeness means in preparation for partnership. It does not mean perfection. It does not mean you have no wounds, no needs, no difficult emotions, and no need for support. It means the parts of your life are being brought under responsible direction. Your character is developing. Your values are becoming visible in your choices. Your vision is larger than your longing to be chosen. You can receive love without making love. Do the work of identity. Partnership can affirm identity, but it cannot safely substitute for identity. And when that distinction is ignored, every delayed reply, tired evening, disagreement, or limitation begins to sound like a verdict. You do not matter. That is where companionship stops feeling like a gift and starts becoming an impossible assignment. Whatever identity refuses to govern internally will eventually be demanded from the relationship externally. Watch the chain. Undefined identity produces dependence on reassurance. Dependence makes reassurance carry more weight than it was designed to carry. Because no human being can reassure you perfectly or continuously, reassurance becomes inconsistent. Inconsistency produces fear. Fear produces pressure. And pressure distorts partnership. Now, ordinary life becomes emotionally dangerous. A delayed reply is no longer a delayed reply. It becomes evidence that affection is fading. A spouse enjoys an interest that does not include you, and healthy difference feels like rejection. Constructive disagreement sounds like disloyalty. Ordinary fatigue is interpreted as withdrawal. The event may be small, but the conclusion is enormous. If you are not confirming me right now, perhaps I am not worth confirming. Then comes the reassurance cycle. Do you love me? Yes. 5 minutes later, but do you really love me? Yes. At lunch, are you sure? At dinner, your yes sounded different this morning. By bedtime, the spouse is being asked to submit a revised emotional certificate with supporting documents and 3 witnesses. We can laugh because the scene is recognizable. But listen, beneath repeated demands for confirmation is often a frightened identity asking another person to provide uninterrupted proof of worth. No spouse can do that. People sleep. People work. People become tired. They carry responsibilities, emotions, limitations, and needs of their own. If their affection must continually certify your existence, affection becomes labor and partnership becomes pressure. Here is the distinction. Support says, stand with me while I face this. Rescue thinking says, become the ground beneath me because I have refused to stand. Support welcomes strength without surrendering responsibility. Rescue demands that another person regulate every fear, settle every insecurity, and prevent every uncomfortable feeling. One invites partnership, the other assigns permanent emotional duty. And dependency does not always look helpless. Sometimes it pleases excessively, terrified that one honest preference will cause rejection. Sometimes it controls, attempting to manage another person's schedule, attention, or friendships. Sometimes it becomes jealousy. Sometimes self-erasure. I will become whatever keeps you from leaving. Sometimes it appears as panic whenever distance, disagreement, or change enters the room. Different behaviors, same hidden contract. Your choices must keep proving that I matter. That is not evidence of unusually deep love. It is fear trying to wear the language of devotion. Love allows the other person to remain a person. Dependency recruits that person into a position they cannot safely occupy. So turn the question inward. When you imagine a spouse, are you preparing to love a real person with limits, responsibilities, differences, and imperfect days, or are you recruiting someone as proof that you are significant? Very important. If the imagined partner must constantly establish your worth, you are not only asking for companionship, you are asking for rescue. The next question then is practical. What must you learn to govern within yourself so that another person's support remains support and never becomes the foundation of your life? What must be governed before life is shared? Your emotions, your interpretations, your speech, your habits, your boundaries, your responsibilities, and your response when you are wrong. Self-government is the practiced ability to direct these parts of life according to settled values. Notice that word practiced. This is not a personality type. It is not a mysterious gift given only to naturally disciplined people. It is a capacity developed through repeated choices. And self-government does not mean emotional suppression. It does not mean pretending pain is painless, acting cheerful when you are troubled, or becoming so controlled that nobody can reach you. You may feel fear honestly without making fear your leader. You may feel disappointed without turning disappointment into another person's sentence. You may feel angry without appointing your anger as the official spokesperson for the entire household. Here is the principle. You are prepared to share government only to the degree that you have practiced government over yourself. First, govern interpretation. Silence does not automatically mean rejection. Disagreement does not automatically mean disrespect. Delay does not automatically mean abandonment. Before reacting, question the meaning you assign to the event. Ask, what actually happened? What am I assuming? Is there another reasonable explanation? A disciplined interpretation prevents an uncertain moment from becoming an unnecessary crisis. Second, govern speech. Fear will always volunteer to write your next sentence. Do not give it the pen. Refuse manipulation, threats, contempt, insults, and dramatic declarations designed to force reassurance. Speak truthfully, but speak responsibly. I feel afraid is honest. If you love me, you would do exactly what I want, is control dressed for conversation. Third, govern habits. Keep commitments. Manage ordinary responsibilities. Arrive, prepare, finish, clean up, follow through. Character is not proven only during impressive moments. It appears in what you do when nobody romantic is watching. If consistency requires an audience, it is performance, not government. Fourth, govern boundaries. Let your yes be truthful and let your no be truthful. Do not surrender every preference, conviction, friendship, or responsibility merely to remain approved. Approval purchased through self-erasure is too expensive. Healthy partnership requires two honest participants, not one person and one carefully edited version of a person. Fifth, govern repair. When you are wrong, admit it without preparing a closing argument. Seek appropriate help when a pattern exceeds your present capacity. Make amends where possible. Then change the repeated behavior. An apology without adjustment can become another request for someone else to tolerate what you refuse to govern. Marriage does not automatically heal avoidance, rage, dishonesty, irresponsibility, or fear. Whatever requires attention now deserves attention now. Think again of the steering wheel. Partnership may bring another traveler. Together, you may choose routes, divide responsibilities, and agree on a destination, but another passenger cannot compensate for a driver who never learned to steer. Shared government is not the disappearance of personal responsibility. It is the coordination of responsible people. This should give you hope. Preparation is not hidden inside mysterious timing. It is visible in learnable behavior. You can examine an assumption, restrain a harmful sentence, keep a commitment, state a boundary, admit a fault, and practice change today. But discipline alone is not enough. A person can learn to steer and still have nowhere meaningful to go. So the next question is larger. What purpose gives these governed capacities direction? Purpose answers that question. But write this down. Purpose is not a grand title waiting somewhere in the future. Purpose is the collection of responsibilities and contributions that gives your life direction now. Many people are not living, they are auditioning. Their emotional attention is fixed on being selected. They postpone development, neglect useful work, withdraw from community, and treat present responsibilities as temporary furniture in a life that has not officially begun. Every day becomes another inspection of relationship timing. Has anyone arrived? Has anything changed? Is it my turn yet? Listen carefully. Waiting to be chosen is not a sufficient direction for a human life. A purposeful life is already participating. It is learning, working, serving, creating, repairing, contributing, and building trustworthy relationships. It does not require a spectacular platform. Purpose may appear in responsibilities that seem ordinary. developing a skill, caring for what has been entrusted to you, strengthening your community, doing honest work, or becoming dependable where you are presently needed. Purpose is not first about being impressive. It is about being responsible and useful. Vision gives that purpose a direction. Vision asks, what kind of person am I becoming? And what kind of good am I preparing to contribute? Those questions organize your energy. They turn values from attractive words into deliberate movement. Watch the sequence. Purpose creates priorities. Priorities shape choices. Repeated choices form character. And character enters every relationship. You do not leave your character outside when romance arrives. You bring your focus or your confusion, your generosity or your self-absorption, your diligence or your avoidance. This is why purpose matters before partnership. Marriage should enter a life with direction. It should not be forced to become the direction of a life held in suspension. Think of two people preparing to build a home. There is a profound difference between saying, "Here is what I have been learning to build. Let us consider what we can build together," and saying, "I brought no plan, no materials, and no reason for construction. Please invent the whole project so I can feel that my life has a structure." Partnership can revise plans, enlarge possibilities, and create shared work. But it should not have to invent the entire reason you wake up. Now, do not misunderstand me. Purpose does not cancel the desire for marriage. It gives that desire proper jurisdiction. You may want companionship deeply and still refuse to let that desire consume every responsibility, conversation, ambition, and season. Purpose makes room for partnership without making partnership the reason you exist. So inspect your present life. Name one responsibility you have neglected because your emotional attention has been fixed on relationship timing. 1. Is it work, health, learning, service, friendship, community? A commitment you keep postponing. Return to it. Give it responsible attention. Waiting is not an empty corridor before real life begins. It can become active stewardship of the life already in your hands. But this raises another question. If you live purposefully and bring wholeness into partnership, does that mean you should need nobody, receive no help, and remain untouched by others? No. Wholeness is not isolation. And that distinction is very important. Very important. Wholeness is not perfection. If wholeness meant having no wounds, no weaknesses, no unanswered questions, and no need for anyone, then nobody would ever be ready for partnership. That standard would not prepare people for marriage. It would disqualify the human race. Wholeness means you do not abandon responsibility for your healing, your choices, your values, or your direction. You may still be growing. You may carry pain that deserves patient attention. You may need wisdom, encouragement, correction, or care, but you remain responsible for how you respond to what is happening within you. Write this down. Support may assist your growth, but it cannot assume ownership of your life. There are 3 different postures here. Isolation says, "I will receive nothing from anyone." Dependence says, "You must do for me what I refuse to do for myself." Interdependence says, "We can strengthen one another while each of us remains responsible." Isolation rejects support. Dependence transfers responsibility. Interdependence shares support without surrendering responsibility. That means acknowledging loneliness can be an act of wholeness. Pretending you never ache for connection is not strength. It may simply be fear wearing a strong face. You can say, "I feel lonely and I need meaningful connection," without saying, "Therefore, I must attach myself desperately to whoever offers attention." Loneliness can become truthful information. It can move you toward honest conversation, appropriate community, and relationships in which you are known without demanding that one person become your entire world. Think of 2 people carrying a table. Each person must hold a side. They communicate, turn here, slow down, lift higher. They adjust to one another because the burden is shared. That is interdependence. But if one person suddenly releases all the weight and announces, "We are carrying this together," the statement does not change the reality. One is participating, the other is transferring. Healthy partnership allows both people to become tired, ask for help, exchange positions, and make adjustments. But neither person permanently abandons their side and calls the other person's exhaustion love. So receive support, cultivate friendship, participate in a faith community if that belongs to your life. Seek mentoring, counseling, or accountable relationships when appropriate. No single resource automatically resolves every need, but wise support can help you see what you cannot see alone, practice new responses, and continue healing with honesty. Marriage may deepen companionship. It may contribute powerfully to a sense of belonging. It may offer comfort, partnership, correction, affection, and shared strength. But it cannot replace your inner acceptance of responsibility. Wholeness is not the absence of need. It is the refusal to make another person responsible for becoming you. Now the question becomes personal. If marriage is allowed to support you but forbidden to become you, what private assignment have you already written for a future spouse? You cannot remove an impossible burden from marriage until you name the burden you intended to place upon it. So let us name it. Complete this sentence. When I get married, then I will finally. Do not correct the answer. Do not make it respectable. Write the first honest ending that appears. Then I will finally feel valuable. Then I will finally belong. Then I will finally become disciplined. Then I will finally begin the life I want. Preserve the answer. It may reveal the private job description you have written for someone you have not yet met. Now conduct the audit. First, worth. Do I believe being chosen will prove that I am valuable? Notice the difference between enjoying someone's choice and requiring that choice as evidence of worth. If selection must establish your value, rejection or delay will seem to erase it. Second, belonging. Have I expected one person to end every form of loneliness and become my entire community? A spouse can offer profound closeness, but no individual can safely occupy every relational role. If one person must be companion, counselor, community, encouragement, and constant availability, love has been given too many positions to fill. Third, emotional regulation. Do I expect continual reassurance to manage fears I have not learned to name or govern? Ask yourself, when anxiety rises, can I identify what I fear, question what I assume, and communicate without accusation? If not, marriage will not make the fear disappear. It will merely give the fear someone to question. Fourth, healing. Am I imagining marriage as an automatic cure for wounds or repeated patterns that require attention now? Affection may create a supportive environment for healing, but affection cannot perform the work of honesty, repair, practice, and appropriate help. A wedding does not negotiate with an untreated pattern and persuade it to retire. Fifth, direction. Have I postponed work, service, learning, health, stewardship, or community until a relationship appears? Examine what you keep delaying. If your life remains paused until someone arrives, you have assigned that person the task of pressing start. Sixth, boundaries and speech. When I fear losing affection, do I abandon standards, conceal truth, or communicate destructively? Do I agree while resentful, hide what matters, punish with words, or use withdrawal to obtain compliance? Fear does not become love merely because it fears losing love. Seventh, reciprocity. Am I preparing to contribute to partnership or primarily imagining what partnership will relieve? What are you developing that another person can safely share patience, truthfulness, discipline, generosity, useful skill, responsible care? Partnership is not only a place where burdens are eased, it is also a place where contribution is required. Now mark the question that produced the strongest discomfort. Do not condemn yourself for it. Discomfort is information. It may be showing you where desire quietly became transfer, where hope became expectation, or where an untreated need became somebody else's future obligation. Then ask the responsible question. What part of this assignment belongs to me, my present support system, or appropriate help not to a future spouse? Be specific. Perhaps worth requires a more stable identity. Perhaps loneliness requires broader connection. Perhaps fear requires honest language and practice regulation. Perhaps a wound requires counseling. Perhaps direction requires returning to neglected responsibility. This is preparation, not pretending you need nothing, but placing each need in the right hands. Now that the rescue assignment has been exposed, what practice will replace it in your present life? The practice begins now. But remove one dangerous bargain before you begin. Growth is not a payment offered in exchange for a spouse. You do not become disciplined so marriage will be obligated to appear. You do not heal as though life owes you romance for completing the assignment. Preparation does not force an outcome. Its purpose is to make you responsible for the life already in your hands. Here is the rhythm. 7 practices. Simple enough to begin, serious enough to change what you bring into every season. First, write an identity statement without mentioning relationship status. Describe your present values, responsibilities, strengths, growth areas, and direction. Who are you practicing becoming? What has been entrusted to you? Where are you strong? Where must you mature? What currently deserves your energy? Keep it concise, truthful, and revisable. This statement does not predict your future, it governs your present. Second, choose one governing habit. 1, not 12, impressive promises that disappear by Thursday. Select a small discipline connected to health, work, finances, study, spiritual life, or household responsibility. Define what consistency looks like and track it. The objective is not dramatic intensity. It is trustworthy repetition. Third, practice emotional naming. When loneliness or fear rises, pause before seeking reassurance. Name the feeling. Name the interpretation attached to it. Then name the responsible next action. I feel lonely. I am interpreting this evening as evidence that I am forgotten. My next action is to contact a trusted friend and engage responsibly with the evening before me. Emotion is acknowledged, interpretation is examined, and action is directed. Fourth, discipline your speech. Establish an interruption between impulse and expression. It may be a pause, written reflection, or conversation with an accountable person. Ask, am I about to communicate truth, manipulate an outcome, punish someone, or erase myself to preserve approval? Do not allow urgency to borrow your voice without inspection. Fifth, choose one healing step. Identify a recurring wound or pattern, not your entire history, one pattern, and decide what appropriate attention looks like. Reflection may help. Trusted community may help. Mentoring or counseling may be appropriate. The important movement is from vague concern to responsible action. Sixth, establish purposeful contribution. Take one recurring action that serves people, develops competence, or advances a responsibility already present. Contribution trains you to ask not only who will care for me, but also what good am I becoming capable of carrying? Seventh, strengthen relational breadth. Invest deliberately in friendship, family, faith community where relevant and accountable support. Make a call, keep an appointment, participate consistently. Allow yourself to be known by more than one person. A healthy social world protects partnership from being required to become the whole world. Then review the week with 3 questions. What did I govern well? Where did I surrender responsibility? What will I practice next? Do not use the review to prosecute yourself. Use it to produce truthful adjustment. This is how waiting becomes preparation. Each week produces evidence of greater honesty, consistency, responsibility, and capacity to contribute. Not evidence that marriage must now arrive. Evidence that your life is no longer standing still. And that progress remains valuable in every future season. You are not practicing to control tomorrow. You are developing the capacity to meet tomorrow without demanding that another person rescue you from today. When that demand is removed, what can partnership finally be allowed to become? Partnership can finally be partnership. Companionship is a worthy desire. To be known, supported, challenged, and accompanied is a genuine good. But companionship cannot perform the work of identity. It cannot govern your emotions. Choose your values, heal your patterns, establish your direction, or assume responsibility for your life. Here is the principle. Marriage may join 2 lives. It must not be asked to manufacture either person. So remember the progression. Know what governs you. Accept responsibility for your habits and healing. Live your purpose in the present. Build support broader than one relationship. Develop the capacity to contribute. And when you fail, and you will sometimes fail, practice honest repair. This is preparation with substance, not prediction, not romantic speculation. Not another forecast about who will arrive, when they will appear, or what signs supposedly guarantee the outcome. Now listen carefully. Refusing prediction is not refusing hope. It is protecting hope from becoming fantasy. Prediction asks you to stare at possibilities you cannot govern. Preparation returns you to responsibilities you can practice. Predictive spouse content may attract attention, but that demand is volatile and heavily duplicated. One forecast replaces another. Curiosity keeps demanding fresh certainty, and the person waiting can remain unchanged. This teaching therefore stays with what endures: identity, self-government, purpose, support, healing, contribution, and growth. Forecasts may entertain uncertainty. Durable preparation develops capacity. And what does mature partnership look like? Two responsible people bringing identity without self-erasure, direction without domination, vulnerability without transfer of responsibility, support without control, and the willingness to repair what they damage. They do not arrive needing nothing. They arrive able to name what they need, seek appropriate help, receive love with gratitude, and offer love without making rescue the price of closeness. That kind of partnership can breathe. Affection can be affection. Encouragement can be encouragement. Shared purpose can become shared purpose. Neither person must continually prove that the other exists. Repeat this. I do not have to stop desiring marriage. I must stop asking marriage to become me. Now write two things. Write the rescue expectation you identified. Be honest. Then write the governing practice that will replace it. Keep both where you can review them. You may desire marriage peacefully. You may hope without demanding a guarantee. And whether partnership comes soon, later, or remains unknown, delay does not suspend your identity, cancel your purpose, or postpone your responsibility to live. Your life is present now. Live it truthfully. Prepare responsibly. Receive companionship as a gift and never ask marriage to become you.